then that's how they always are going to see it. And I was introduced to the world in a big way. Quincy Jones, back on the block.
He was the golden boy of R&B, mentored by Quincy Jones, praised as the next Michael Jackson, and gifted with a voice that could stop time. But behind the hits, behind the stage lights, the rumors were brutal.
How does a boy with a voice like that had the records that he had that could have easily transformed into one of the greatest male vocals of all time, end up prostituting himself for drugs and change on Hollywood Boulevard?
Some say Tevin Campbell didn't just lose his career, he was passed around it. From secret parties to sudden disappearances, to one disturbing claim that Quincy Jones turned him into something darker than a prodigy.
He got left with people. He got left with people that did things to him. Shaped his personality and his choices before he had a chance to do it himself. Meanwhile, making hit record after hit.
So what really happened to Tevin Campbell? And why is it so hard to look at him the same way now? Let's get into it. Before the rumors, before the silence, Tevin Campbell was just a kid with an extraordinary voice. Born in 1976 in Waxahachie, Texas, he was singing gospel in church by age 4. His talent stood out early, and by the late 80s, a chance meeting with jazz flutist Bobby Humphrey changed everything. She introduced him to Warner Brothers, leading to a connection with music executive Benny Medina, and eventually Quincy Jones. Quincy saw something special. At just 12, Tevin sang on Jones's Back on the Block album, with the track Tomorrow, A Better You, Better Me, shooting to #1 on the R&B charts. From there, Tevin became a star. His debut album, Tevin, featured hits like Round and Round and Tell Me What You Want Me to Do, earning comparisons to Whitney Houston for his incredible vocal range. But behind the scenes, Tevin struggled with being packaged as a teen heartthrob. He later admitted, "I just wanted to be me." Still, the hits kept coming. Can We Talk, from his second album, I'm Ready, became a 90s R&B classic. By the mid-1990s, Tevin was everywhere, but the pressure was building. Fame had come fast, and without warning, it began to disappear. After reaching what many would call the peak of a teenage dream, Tevin Campbell's name began to fade from the mainstream. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, a noticeable silence surrounded his career. Fans who had once heard his voice on every R&B station began asking the same question: what happened to Tevin Campbell? In the world of entertainment, disappearing acts aren't unusual. Trends shift, public tastes evolve, and artists sometimes choose to retreat from the spotlight for personal reasons. But with Campbell, the vanishing act sparked deeper curiosity. His talent was undeniable. His early catalog had solidified him as one of the most gifted vocalists of his generation. Yet, by his early 20s, Campbell's presence in the music industry had dwindled. Theories began to circulate. Some chalked it up to poor label management or the pressure of maturing from child star to adult artist. Others suggested he had simply burned out. But a more controversial wave of speculation began to take root online. One that suggested Tevin's career hadn't just stalled. It had been deliberately sidelined. In 2018, legendary producer Quincy Jones gave an explosive interview to Vulture, where he made a string of sensational claims about celebrities and secrets in the music industry. He spoke candidly about everyone from Richard Pryor to Michael Jackson.
Playing was going after all of the big rappers, whether it was Teddy Riley, whatever, all the rap producers to spend 5 times what they were paying me, you know.
Jones claimed Jackson's Billie Jean borrowed from Donna Summer's State of Independence, which Jones produced. The notes don't lie, man. I hate to get into this publicly, but Michael stole a lot of stuff. He stole a lot of songs, Jones told Vulture. Donna Summer's State of Independence and Billie Jean. The notes don't lie, man. He was as Machiavellian as they come. Greedy, man. Greedy. While Tevin Campbell wasn't mentioned directly, the interview prompted readers to revisit Quincy's long list of former collaborators. And among them, Campbell's name stood out. Claims began resurfacing, alleging that Campbell had been taken advantage of during his formative years in the industry. Some users began directly linking Quincy Jones to these allegations, implying that his mentorship of young artists may have extended beyond professional boundaries. As always, the lines between suspicion, memory, and gossip blurred. Campbell, who had largely remained private about his personal life, felt the heat. As his name trended on X amid a swirl of speculation, he decided to respond. In a rare public tweet, he wrote, "Now I'm trending and folks are saying some nasty stuff. Tevin was hurt by Quincy. Seriously, get out of here with that nonsense." He punctuated the statement with laughing emojis, attempting to dismiss the rumor mill without fanning its flames. In a follow-up tweet, he referenced a quote from Quincy Jones that read, "God is pushing the bad in our face to make us fight back." Some interpreted these tweets as a subtle call for peace and dignity, an artist reclaiming his narrative. Others weren't convinced. The internet, by design, doesn't forget. Once rumors are out, they often take on lives of their own. Around the same time, a separate but related voice entered the conversation: Jaguar Wright.
How does a boy with a voice like that had the records that he had that could have easily transformed into one of the greatest male vocals of all time, end up prostituting himself for drugs and change on Hollywood Boulevard?
For Tevin, this period marked a painful chapter, not just due to the rumors, but also the fact that many had forgotten his artistry in the midst of internet sensationalism. He was trending not for his vocals, not for his influence on modern R&B, but because of whispers and speculation. Still, others tried to defend his legacy. Some online users commented that regardless of what may or may not have happened, the fact that Tevin Campbell, one of the most talented male vocalists of the 1990s, had been pushed out of the spotlight so early raised bigger questions. Why didn't the industry protect him? Why did he disappear so quickly when others with far less talent managed to thrive? It's in that space between mystery and memory where Tevin Campbell's story continued to haunt his fans. The sudden drop-off in his career wasn't just a footnote. For many, it was a red flag that something deeper might have been at play. Wright directly linked Quincy Jones to this alleged abuse. According to her, Jones had orchestrated access to young talent under the guise of mentorship. She claimed that Tevin, among others, had been exposed to situations no child should have faced, and that this ultimately explained both his silence and the rapid collapse of his career.
He got left with people. He got left with people that did things to him, shaped his personality and his choices before he had a chance to do it himself. Meanwhile, making hit record after hit.
These were serious allegations, and yet they were not supported by any direct evidence. No documents, no witnesses, no photos or recordings. Wright claimed she was speaking from personal knowledge and years of industry observation, but the burden of proof remained unanswered. Still, the story gained traction, especially in an era where social media allows unfiltered voices to go viral without the traditional checks of journalism. Wright's videos circulated rapidly, shared by those who felt she was finally telling the truth about the industry, and dismissed by others as inflammatory or conspiratorial. Tevin Campbell responded swiftly. In a now deleted tweet, he issued a firm warning to Wright. He stated that he had contacted legal counsel and implied that defamation lawsuits were being considered. He didn't go into detail. He didn't try to argue point for point. He simply made it clear that he found the statements to be false, offensive, and legally actionable. Wright, however, was not deterred. In her response, which she delivered via video, She remained calm but unyielding. She told viewers she was not afraid of lawyers, not intimidated by threats, and fully prepared to stand by everything she had said.
For me, even saying that in that interview, it wasn't me blowing up his spot. I'm literally sitting here advocating for this nigga.
This moment highlighted a cultural divide. On one side were those who saw Wright as a kind of whistleblower, calling out the abuse of power that had long plagued the entertainment world. On the other side were those who viewed her claims as reckless, potentially damaging to the very people she claimed to protect. It also raised deeper questions. If Tevin Campbell had been mistreated in the industry, would he ever be able to say so? Would he feel safe enough to tell that story? Or would the shame, the fear of public reaction, and the weight of industry power silence him forever? At the heart of it all was Quincy Jones, a man celebrated for his unmatched contributions to music, but also someone whose personal life had increasingly become the subject of scrutiny. In her accusations, Wright didn't just speak about Tevin. She spoke about a pattern. She suggested that Jones had used his influence to gain access to vulnerable young men, offering fame and opportunity in exchange for silence and submission.
Terrible human being.
Wow.
Left a trail of destroyed self-esteem and shame.
As the allegations surrounding Quincy Jones picked up steam, new names began surfacing. Names like Tupac Shakur, Will Smith, and Katt Williams. All of them had crossed paths with Quincy early in their careers, and they became linked, whether fairly or not, to deeper conversations about power, silence, and what it really takes to succeed in Hollywood. For starters, there are claims that Quincy once made advances towards Tupac Shakur. If you can recall, there was an interview with Tupac where he discussed Quincy Jones's purported advances. Supposedly, in that interview, Tupac disclosed that Quincy had propositioned him, suggesting an intimate encounter. Strangely, this interview has allegedly mysteriously disappeared from the internet, leaving many to wonder if Quincy's considerable clout played a role in its removal. Given Tupac's absence to confirm the authenticity of the audio, it appears Quincy may have distanced himself from any such allegations. Even Tupac's friend, Napoleon, when confronted with rumors of a relationship between Tupac and Quincy, vehemently denied them in an interview and staunchly defended Jones.
Yeah, I think them rumors about Quincy Jones and all that crazy stuff about Pac was definitely rumors. Pac was about to marry his daughter.
But despite many attempts to conceal the interview, some fans claim to still remember, to this day, each and every word of the Tupac interview. One person actually commented on it saying, "I heard the audio of Tupac saying that about Quincy with my own ears about 10 years ago. Quincy is, or was, the key holder to the black music industry. Anyone at the top level had gotten there by partaking in his parties." But this is not the first time Tupac expressed his frustration on Quincy about his nasty actions. Back in the day, in an interview, Tupac lashed out on a lot of associates and made some daring remarks about them.
Jail for a crime I didn't commit, while every other black person, whoever they fucking babies in the ass.
Could it be that insinuations were being made about Quincy Jones as a figure who might have exerted influence to have his own preferences realized by others? Such conjectures are not entirely unfounded, especially when examining the close relationship between Quincy and Tupac during the latter's career. This proximity might have been viewed by some as an opportunity for Quincy to make advances towards Tupac. Their bond had deepened to the point where Tupac was allegedly contemplating a move from Death Row Records to Quincy's record label. One intriguing revelation came from none other than Keisha Cole, who shared a revealing anecdote about the night Tupac met his untimely demise. During an episode of Fat Joe's Instagram series, Cole unveiled an interesting detail. It turns out that just before his tragic murder in 1996, Tupac had been harboring intentions of leaving Death Row Records and signing with Quincy Jones's music company. A piece of information Keisha Cole disclosed. In one episode of Fat Joe's ongoing Instagram Live series, Cole recounted how MC Hammer had initially introduced her to Death Row Records, where she had the chance to encounter both Tupac and Suge Knight, the label's co-founders. Astonishingly, on the very day Tupac met his untimely end, he had made the decision to sever ties with Death Row in favor of joining forces with Quincy Jones's label. He had even extended an invitation to Keisha Cole to accompany him on this musical journey. Tragically, it was on that fateful day in Las Vegas when Tupac was shot, forever altering the course of music history. In any case, some months before his demise, Tupac allegedly started dating Quincy's daughter, Katt Jones, in an attempt to get back at the music mogul for allegedly trying to get with him. You see, the inception of Katt Jones and Tupac Shakur's relationship was anything but conventional, marked by a series of twists and turns that would eventually lead to an unexpected love story. At first glance, it appeared to be a union born out of a desire to spite Quincy Jones, Katt's father. But as time unfolded, a deeper connection would emerge. The roots of their connection lay in a tumultuous interview, where Tupac Shakur criticized Quincy Jones's romantic entanglements, particularly his involvement in interracial relationships and the mixed-race children that ensued. In response to Tupac's inflammatory comments, Katt's sister, Rashida Jones, stepped into the fray. In a scathing article, she called into question Shakur's moral compass, condemning him for his lack of respect toward a legendary figure like Quincy Jones. The familial bond ran deep, and Rashida's defense of her father was unwavering.
Not very nice stuff about my dad and mixed families and mixed kids and how it's messing up.
However, fate had a peculiar way of orchestrating encounters. Months later, Katt Jones and Tupac found themselves in the same nightclub, their paths converging in a twist of destiny. Tupac, seemingly unaware of the identity of the woman before him, approached Katt with a palpable intention: to apologize for his previous derogatory remarks concerning her parents. As they engaged in conversation, a transformation occurred. Katt Jones found herself inexplicably drawn to Tupac, her initial reservations melting away in the face of his charm and sincerity. She recalled, "He, Shakur, was apologizing about the article he wrote about my parents, and inside I'm just like, oh my God, he is so cute." In that serendipitous moment, the spark of attraction ignited, leading to the birth of a unique connection. Their journey from acquaintances to close friends was swift as they navigated the complex terrain of newfound camaraderie. However, this burgeoning relationship did not go unnoticed by Quincy Jones, Katt's father. His response was anything but welcoming. Quincy Jones, protective of his daughter's well-being, issued a stern warning. He made it abundantly clear that while Katt was free to make her own choices in matters of the heart, there was one exception he vehemently opposed: Tupac Shakur. "You know you can date whoever you want, but you will not bring Tupac to my house. That's one rapper you will not be dating," Quincy Jones cautioned her. Yet, the heart, as they say, knows no boundaries. And Katt Jones and Tupac Shakur's connection defied expectations and parental warnings. What had initially appeared to be a relationship fueled by spite and defiance soon revealed itself as a genuine and profound love story. Meanwhile, Katt Williams has never been subtle when it comes to Quincy. In interviews, he's accused Hollywood of being run by hidden systems where fame comes with strings. One of his most talked about claims came when he said some celebrities were power slaves, people who looked powerful but were actually being controlled. Williams didn't name Quincy directly, but online audiences connected the dots. Quincy had long been described as a gatekeeper, someone with the keys to careers and access to elite circles.
Will Smith is not the giant that he is solely on the merits of Will Smith or his family. There are 300 corporations that are a part of the Will Smith business. And if you are the people that are in business with him, when you decide that you're going to do something, you can do it too.
People remembered stories about Quincy's private parties. No cameras, no phones, invitation only. And at those gatherings, according to whispers, young talent, often male, was introduced to the realities of how things worked behind closed doors. Williams' words gave those whispers new weight. Then came Will Smith. In the early 90s, Quincy co-produced The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the very show that turned Will from a struggling rapper into a TV star. The mentorship between Quincy and Will was no secret. But over the years, some started questioning how deep that mentorship really went. Rumors started linking Will's rise to the same private spaces that Katt hinted at. Trisha Paytas once revealed that Will Smith tried to go down with one of his male dancers too, and that without their consent. In a video on her YouTube channel she later removed, she tried to defend Shane Dawson and claimed that Will Smith sexually assaulted his male dancers. She further addressed Jada saying, "How about worry about your effing cheating husband, king one of my male dancers when they didn't want to?" While Hollywood's infamous gay parties are not hidden, what Will Smith does is out of question. Some speculate that Jada and Will both organize gay parties at their home with much younger men. These rumors turned out to be very true when Jaguar Wright made some scandalous announcements. She said that she witnessed young men screaming while leaving their house because both Jada and Will do weird things at their house during the mentorship. In addition to this, Will has also done weird things in the past, especially with his son Jaden Smith. At multiple times, Will Smith tried to kiss his son. Well, before anyone comes for us, we know parents being affectionate with their kids is not a big deal. But he forced his kiss to Jaden on his mouth, while Jaden was looking absolutely comfortable. That raised quite a question about Will's weird tendencies.
I can kiss my son. I can kiss my son. Jaden, come on.
Even fans got uncomfortable with this display of affection from Will. People criticized him for making his son uncomfortable and planting a kiss on his lips while he kept denying it. On this matter, a person commented, "He forced his son into doing something he clearly was not willing to do, and that was something physical and intimate, especially at his age, that was completely wrong." Will Smith hasn't addressed any of it. He's never confirmed or denied these links to Quincy beyond their professional ties. But the silence hasn't calmed the speculation. In some circles, it's only made the whispers louder. The pieces are scattered. Tevin Campbell's sudden career shift, Jaguar Wright's claims, Tupac's missing interview, and Katt Williams' warnings. The deeper you look, the more familiar names you find. And in each of those stories, Quincy Jones doesn't always play the role of mentor. Sometimes he's the common thread in something darker. Quincy Jones has worked with nearly every major artist of the past century. But two of those relationships, Jamie Foxx and Michael Jackson, are the ones people can't stop revisiting.
I saw Quincy Jones from afar several times. Like from afar, like wow.
Jamie Foxx once told a story that raised eyebrows. It wasn't framed as an accusation, but the details didn't sit right with everyone. According to Foxx, during filming for Ray, his behavior started spiraling. He was partying too much, skipping obligations, not taking the work seriously. That's when Oprah Winfrey stepped in. She gave him a wake-up call and took him to Quincy Jones's house for what Foxx described as an intervention. Foxx says when he arrived, Quincy and Sidney Poitier were there.
Sorry, what I need to do. So she took me to Quincy Jones's house.
Oh.
And Quincy came out, hey man, you're doing a great job with Ray, man. You really did that, man. I remember Michael, man, 54 million records with Thriller, baby.
They didn't sugarcoat anything. Foxx recalls Quincy saying he had messed everything up and needed to buckle down. Poitier told him his Ray performance had moved him, emotionally and artistically. Foxx cried. The moment was intense, but what stuck with people wasn't just the emotion, it was the setting. Quincy's house. Another high-profile young black actor being pulled into Quincy's private space for a serious talk. For some, it sounded too familiar, just another version of what others had hinted at. A power dynamic built around influence, opportunity, and closed-door meetings. Michael Jackson's history with Quincy is even more complicated. They met when Michael was still a kid. Their first real collaboration came in the late 70s, when Michael asked Quincy to help him with his solo album. The result was Off the Wall, a massive success. That was followed by Thriller and Bad, cementing Michael as the biggest artist in the world. Quincy was right there for it all. But eventually, things fell apart. Quincy accused Michael of stealing. In a 2018 interview, he said Billie Jean was copied from Donna Summer's State of Independence. He said Michael was greedy, a Machiavellian operator. He didn't hold back. Michael's family clapped back immediately. Joe Jackson accused Quincy of being bitter and jealous. He said Quincy was trying to rewrite history, but the damage was done. Quincy had already said his piece, and his words fueled more theories about what really went on during their years together. Because while their music was flawless, people had always been suspicious of their closeness. Michael was just a teenager when they began working closely. Quincy was decades older. And with all the other allegations swirling about control, manipulation, and secret meetings, this relationship came under the same kind of scrutiny as Quincy's other protégés. There was never any public fallout over inappropriate behavior, no lawsuit, no accusations. But that hasn't stopped people from talking. Same thing with Jamie Foxx. There was no scandal attached to the Oprah-Quincy Poitier moment. But fans keep bringing it up, posting side-by-side comparisons with Tevin, with Tupac, with Will. They ask the same questions. Why always young men? Why always this private mentorship? And online, it doesn't stop. Some people claim the music industry has always worked like this. Favors, secrets, silence. They say Quincy didn't invent the system. He just perfected it. Others say the rumors are unfair, the result of a society that can't separate personal lives from professional brilliance. Either way, the name of the late Quincy Jones keeps coming up. None of this has been proven. There were no charges during his lifetime, no convictions, no formal investigations, just whispers, patterns, and decades of rumors. But for people like Tevin Campbell, the damage was real. Whether it was the pressure of fame, the machine behind him, or something he'll never speak on, his voice was pushed into the background, and the questions never stopped. So what really happened behind the closed doors of this industry? We may never get answers, but the pattern, the timing, the silence, the stories, they're all there. And whether or not the rumors are true, the impact is. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.